It's there. I finally see it, for the first time in my life. Grayish body far away in the sky, hidden behind the clouds, the size of 1/4 of a full moon. It won't be there for long. The last time it was there was 33 years ago. And we'll have to wait for 33 years more to see it again. Tellus, the mysterious planet humankind still have so much to learn about. For a long time, Earth was the only planet quietly traveling its circular orbit around the center of our solar system, the Sun. Our solar system was generally a pretty stable place. Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, and other planets, they all acted in a predictable way. Always the same orbits. Until some time ago, something unexpected happened. Another planet entered the Earth's orbit. No one knows where exactly it came from, since it wasn't one of the 7 planets from our solar system. We had advanced devices that tracked asteroids, meteorites, and other space bodies, but scientists were still terrified when they saw such a big, round body suddenly coming toward us at a great speed. First, they thought it was a huge asteroid and were afraid it would collide with us. Humankind was prepared for the worst because it was too late to deflect it. But when the huge body came closer, to the distance of 93 million miles, which is the average distance between the Earth and the Sun, it suddenly changed direction. We now know that's the closest it could get to the Earth, with the size similar to our planet. The orbiting body needs to meet 3 criteria to be called a planet. It needs to be a perfect sphere, orbit the Sun, and can't orbit any other body, like another planet. It also needs to have a clear orbit of any protoplanets, planetesimals, or other planetary competitors. Scientists were tracking the orbit of the new planet they later named Tellus, which is a Latin word for Earth. When it entered the Earth's orbit, it was like something happened with their gravitational forces, so these 2 planets created a completely new orbit, in the shape of a horseshoe. Planets could be in the same zone around the Sun in such an orbit. That means they don't move in a circle around a star, but each goes along the edge of some sort of track in the shape of a horseshoe with crescents that face each other, like 2 halves of a broken ring. For example, Saturn and its 2 moons, Janus and Epimetheus, they dance around Saturn with the stable horseshoe orbit and travel around 93,000 miles from Saturn, beyond its main rings. The closest they come to each other is 9,300 miles. Nothing occupied our media for years but new mysterious events. It was chaos at first because we didn't know how things would end. No one went to school, work, college. We were all waiting for directions on what to do. People were first very afraid, but later excited when we found out that's a planet similar to Earth, which means we could get new friends. Scientists believe Tellus used to share the orbit with some other unknown planet in another solar system. We never had 2 planets sharing the same orbit, but some other solar systems could have it. When 2 planets share the orbit and get closer, one can kick another from the orbit in the unknown direction or even be pushed into the Sun because the gravitational forces of 2 planets interact. If 2 gravitations would attract each other, they could start moving towards each other and, bam, big collision. Or they could successfully share their orbit, shaping a horseshoe orbit-like path, something that happened with Earth and Tellus. It's not the first time it happened to Earth. 4.5 billion years ago, when the solar system existed for only a few tens of millions of years, there was a space object as big as Mars moving towards our planet and slammed into it. The theory says the Earth pulled the debris from that planet into its orbit, and those pieces eventually formed the moon we have today. The collision probably caused resurfacing on the Earth. The oldest rocks we found on our planet are still younger than some meteorites we found. Uranus probably also had a huge collision. Billions of years ago, there was a space object at least twice bigger than the Earth, and it came very close to Uranus, the gas giant. 2 bodies collided with the force so powerful it made Uranus shift into its side, but it's survived. But it's been rotating on its side, different than any other planet in our solar system ever since then. The early solar system was created because gravity pulled a cloud of gas and dust together. It was a chaotic place where debris was constantly slamming into other planets that were growing and forming at that time. 2 planets can hardly share the same exact orbit because they can't remain stable. Quasi-stable orbit maybe, which technically means no order. Everything is unstable. Why we can't be completely relaxed with Tellus, even though things look good now. It doesn't mean the collision will happen right away. It can take billions of years before that. There are things called Lagrange points, 5 specific points where the gravitation of some planet and the Sun cancel out. If you consider masses as just one planet and the Sun, all 3 bodies can move in a predictable orbit forever. But out of these 5 points, only 2 are stable. Anything that happens in the other 3 will cause trouble. Also, 2 of them, L4 and L5, are points where asteroids collect. Gas giants have thousands of these, but our planet has only one, the asteroid 3753 Orionis, and it's in the quasi-stable orbit with our world. It's not going to remain stable forever, but if it was like this, 2 planets can share orbits. Days are a little bit longer now, the year is also longer. We still can't settle for the calendar because the conditions are still changing and the planets are still adjusting to their new orbit. The climate is the same for now, probably similar to one on Tellus, since we're in the same disk around the Sun. We discovered it's pretty similar to Earth and has similar conditions, which means we could maybe live there in the future. The planet comes to the closest point every 33 years, and later it's behind the Sun, so we're slowly collecting data about conditions. We were thinking about moving there, but then something exciting happened. We started getting messages from space for the first time. They came by radio frequencies in some unknown language. We're currently trying to decipher their messages and, at the same time, preparing for their first visit. We believe whoever's out there comes in peace. They've come a long way to our solar system. Today is the day we are going to visit Tellus for the first time. In fact, the spaceships are going to be there any minute. They went there 9 days ago. Journalists are ready, people are cheering, cameras are on. We're all waiting. Today, Tellus is at the closest point and won't stay there for too long, maybe a couple of days. So we don't have that much time to explore it and see who's there. I hope we'll be able to visit them, make new friends, collaborate, travel to see new places. Till now, we only saw some pictures scientists took from the distance. It seems they have lots of water. Researchers believe many waterfalls, lakes, but much deeper and wider than ours. Perhaps hiding some magnificent creature we don't have. They think there could be volcanoes. Maybe we'll find something bigger than Olympus Mons on Mars, which is the biggest volcano we found in our solar system, which is the size of Arizona, a staggering 370 miles across. Maybe it has super strong winds, like Venus, whose winds are 50 times faster than its rotation. Who knows if there's water ice, the matter that exists all over our solar system, some in shadowed craters on the Moon and Mercury. Maybe Tellus will change its size, like Mercury, that has cliff-like landforms with relatively small fault scarps, so we believe it's slowly but constantly shrinking. Tellus perhaps has tall mountains, like Pluto, which isn't the planet but still has impressive icy mountains, 11,000 feet tall. Anyway, today's the day when we find out. Wish us luck.
Ah, Earth. The third rock from the Sun. The blue planet. You get it. Its atmosphere is made up of around 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% argon, water vapor, and carbon dioxide. A nice balance for any living creatures to breathe. The weather here is also perfect for life to exist, unlike places like Saturn, Mercury, or any other celestial object in our solar system. We have the troposphere to thank for that. It's the densest part of the atmosphere on our planet and is 5 to 9 miles wide. It's the layer of the atmosphere that always affects our weather and secures the right conditions for life to exist and to have bodies of water. Earth is just sitting in its orbital path, minding its own business, revolving around the Sun until, BAM! Venus and Mars swoop in and spoil the fun. No one wants to leave poor Earth alone. These two relatively large celestial objects moving toward Earth will have dire consequences for our planet, starting with changes in its orbiting trajectory path. The planet's orbits in the solar system have to maintain the right balance so that nothing goes haywire. Of course, if any large object approaches Earth, it would throw our orbiting path off course. The planets will revolve around each other, which will cause plenty of natural disasters on our lands. This will also affect our rotation timing, potentially slowing it down. Days will not flow but drag by. Animals that rely on daytime will need to readjust their biological clocks. Nocturnal animals will also need to figure out how to cope with the long nights. Humans have adjusted pretty well to the 24 hours a day timing. Time itself is just a human construct to measure things. We'll have a tough time sleeping and adjusting to the stretched day. Marine animals rely on the natural current flow to migrate around the oceans. With Mars and Venus crashing the party, it looks like they will also need to find new paths. Birds migrating to other lands throughout the year will also be confused and not know what to do. In general, the Earth's temperature will rise, and massive heat waves and permanent climate changes will occur. This brings us to our next issue, the heat. The radical temperature rise will turn everything into a barren desert. It'll be summer all year long, especially if Venus is in the picture. Most of the planet will dry up and won't be suitable for growing crops. Venus is hot, really hot. Even though it's not the closest planet to the Sun, it's still the hottest. The temperatures on Venus are close to 900 degrees Fahrenheit, which will melt you like an ice cube. The lands on Venus are generally flat, probably due to the temperatures. It's mainly hot because its atmosphere is thick and traps the hazardous gases inside. If Venus inches its way towards us, it'll invite those gases to our atmosphere and compromise it. Mars, or the red planet as we know it, is very cold. That might stay the same if it starts rotating around us. It's also home to the largest dormant volcano in our solar system, which makes Mount Everest look like a tiny bush compared to a tree. With so much instability, it might just wake up one day and spew out molten lava. Mars has a very thin atmosphere, which makes the planet chilly. Its gravity is quite similar to ours. It's actually very cold and has ice caps in the poles covered with carbon dioxide. The same's true for Mercury. You can only last there as long as you can hold your breath and be in the sweet spot between the sunrise and sunset. The three planets orbiting each other will eventually collide. It's just a matter of time. And the Moon, just hanging out like a fly on the wall, will be so insignificant that something will eventually throw it off course and another planet will capture it to its orbit. Or, in the most dire case, it will collide with one of the two intruding planets. Earth will experience extreme tidal waves like nothing before. The two new planets revolving around Earth will cause a major imbalance, making our gravity shift out of control. Each tidal wave will be bigger than the previous one and will cover the dry land. Plenty of little scattered islands in the oceans will be completely submerged. Coastal cities and towns will also be home to fish. Flat countries in general will need boats to get around. Dams and dikes won't be enough to stop the water from coming in. Everyone needs to move towards higher ground to escape the floods. With the climate getting hotter, the polar caps will melt like ice cream on a sweltering summer day and add to the water level rising. Within a few months, the whole Arctic will be nothing but liquid. But wait, there's more! The crust will wear out due to the instability of the Earth's surface and fluctuating gravity. The Earth's crust is mainly made up of oxygen, which means we're basically walking on air. We might experience more earthquakes than before, and dormant volcanoes will wake up from their deep slumber. The skies will be covered in ash, making flights impossible. No one can travel by sea or by air. Importing and exporting will become history. The overall climate will get hotter, just like in Venus. The three planets orbiting each other and their huge mass might even unintentionally welcome other planets and celestial bodies to join the party. So, what if Jupiter decided to turn up? Now, Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system. To give you an idea, the Earth would be just the size of a grape if Jupiter were the size of a basketball. It also has the largest storm we can perceive. That's known as the red spot, a place twice the size of Earth that has hurricane-like storms that have been going on for hundreds of years. Now, by the time you're done watching this video, you can expect the storm to still be going at it. Since the planet is huge, gravity must be quite strong here. It also has many moons, some of them of our little Earth. There will be no room for any proper space among the planets. Jupiter's moons will be thrown off course and latch onto other planets around. Some of the moons might collide with each other, causing massive debris to be displaced all over the place. The gravity of the planetary party will attract comets to enter the atmosphere, potentially crashing down on us. Oxygen levels will deplete, so the Earth's crust crumbling will continue. It'll rip open the ozone layer, causing heavy strokes of ultraviolet waves to enter our atmosphere. We won't be able to step outside for too long without some protective gear and oxygen tanks. Human civilization will change drastically. We'll all live in sheltered containers that will provide clean air and safe and filtered sun rays. The shelters will be sturdy enough to withstand frequent earthquakes. We will grow only enough crops to sustain ourselves until we leave the Earth. Since it'll only be a matter of time before the planets collide, the next step would be to create large rocket ships to fly us out of the Earth. With Mars, Venus, and Jupiter revolving close to us, it won't be easy to do so. All the space debris will be blocking us from exiting the space zone area. The only safe place outside this region will be many millions of miles away, where only single planets exist. They may or may not have the conditions to host life, but humans will have the technology to land just about anywhere with similar gravity and construct the right shelters. Eventually, Mars, Venus, Earth, and Jupiter will collide with each other and break like eggs, like a big space omelet. Don't forget the moon's crashing and breaking in the mix, but we'll already be far, far away by then, hopefully.
There's only one star in our solar system, the Sun. And all the planets orbit this star. But there are also systems where a planet orbits two suns. For example, Kepler 16b. It's an inhospitable and cold place, made of half rock, half gas. But the coolest thing there is that if you visited this planet, you'd see two sunsets and have two shadows. But astronomers seem to have found something rarer and more bizarre. There might be a planet that orbits three stars at once. The GW Orionis star system is around 1,300 light-years away from our planet. It's composed of three orange rings. They're made of dust and nested inside one another. In the center of this system, you can see three stars. Two of these stars are binary. It means they orbit each other. The third star revolves around them. Scientists have found out that the three rings are misaligned. The innermost ring swings widely in its orbit, and the outermost ring has a tilt of 38 degrees. So, astronomers came up with two theories. The first theory says the break in these rings occurred because three suns created torque at the center of the entire system. Torque is a gravitational force that always acts toward the center. But sometime later, this theory was written off. There wasn't enough turbulence in these rings for this theory to work. The second theory claimed that this phenomenon could be happening because a planet formed inside one of these rings. A young planet could affect the gravitational balance of the three-ring system and be the reason they were spread so far apart. There's a specific gap in the dust cloud. Based on its size, the planet we're talking about must be a large gas giant the size of our Jupiter. All space objects have been formed thanks to gravity pulling matter together. If there's even the slightest rotation at the beginning, the spin rate increases with time, especially when an object starts collapsing. That's why all space objects rotate, including dust particles and even black holes. Black holes lose their mass because of a thing called Hawking radiation. Their event horizons are becoming smaller, but this process is very, very slow. A black hole's event horizon is a point of no return. It's like a boundary that surrounds a black hole, and nothing, including light and radiation, can escape once it crosses this boundary. The average black hole would need billions of times the age of our universe to disappear completely. Our home Milky Way galaxy might also contain a supermassive black hole, but we're in no danger. One of the closest large black holes, V4647 Sagittarii, is most likely 20,000 light-years away. It's safe to observe the effects black holes create from a distance. Problems start when you get too close because of their mind-boggling gravitational force. Galaxies can consume one another, which is one of the ways how they evolve over time. Our closest neighbor is called Andromeda, and it's currently munching on one of its satellite galaxies. In the past, Andromeda ate at least two others. Plenty of star clusters are scattered all over this galaxy. Andromeda must have stolen these stars from other galaxies. Scientists have finally managed to identify those stars. They have tracked them back to galaxy mergers that happened billions of years ago. 10 billion years ago, our home galaxy also went through a collision. That's why now its halo isn't like the ones other spiral galaxies have. Scientists first thought it was several small collisions, but then they realized that most of these space objects in the Milky Way came from a single source. It was another galaxy, Enceladus, that the Milky Way collided with. The Milky Way and Andromeda Galaxy might collide, but it's unlikely to happen in the next 4.5 billion years. Neutrinos are electrically neutral particles that are so powerful that they can go through miles and miles of lead, and nothing will stop them. Some of them are passing through your body as you're watching this. Neutrinos get formed both in the nuclear reactions inside alive stars and in the supernova explosions when stars go out. These particles are nearly massless. They need less than 3 seconds to get to the surface of the sun, and then they can reach our planet in only 8 minutes. There's a planet, TOI 1231b, around 90 light-years away from Earth. It's similar to our Neptune. It's a gas giant, but the most interesting thing is that this planet is likely to be rich in atmosphere. The planet is over 3.5 times as large as Earth and a bit warmer than we're used to, 134 degrees Fahrenheit. It orbits a red dwarf star, way smaller than our Sun. But this star is also much older. 1 year on the planet is only 24 Earth days long. Even though the planet is close to its parent star, it remains relatively cold. That's because its star is on the cooler side too. Astronomers think they've seen clouds in the atmosphere of this mysterious planet, and maybe they're even made of water. This star and planet system is moving away from Earth pretty fast. That's why scientists easily detected hydrogen atoms that were escaping from the planet's atmosphere. Yep, that means the planet may even have a tail. A hypothetical white hole is a bizarre space object that is the opposite of a black hole. It's intensely bright and was first mentioned by Einstein in his theory of gravity. Most often, scientists talk about white holes in the context of wormholes. There's a theory that a black hole is like some sort of entry point to a tunnel that takes you through space and time. In this case, a white hole might be an exit located somewhere else in the universe. On the other hand, white holes don't necessarily need to be exits from wormholes. They could also be a slow-motion replay of how original black holes were formed. So, the formation of a black hole starts with an old massive star. After it collapses under its own weight, it usually turns into a black hole. But sometimes, quantum processes don't turn a star into a black hole. Instead, they make a white hole that starts spewing out the matter of the original star again. But so far, this is just a theory. Some planets, like Mars and Venus, have pretty intense weather with powerful storms. And now, an equally strong space hurricane might have come to Earth. It was a swirling mass of air about 620 miles wide. Satellites spotted the hurricane hundreds of miles above the North Pole, somewhere in the Earth's upper atmosphere. The hurricane was raining not water, but electrons. It lasted almost 8 hours before it finally broke down. It was spinning in a counterclockwise direction. It's possible there are oceans hidden under the surface of the moons surrounding Uranus. Scientists have also been investigating the oceans on Jupiter's moon Europa and Saturn's moon Enceladus. These oceans are hidden below the moon's icy crusts. Uranus has 27 moons. 5 of them are especially big. Those are Umbriel, Titania, Oberon, Miranda, and Ariel. Back in the 1980s, when people sent Voyager 2 to get us some images of these 5 moons, scientists found out that they had lots of craters and were made up of ice and rock. Pictures astronomers got then also showed signs of liquid water. It was erupting from the moon's depths and freezing on the surface. One of the most plausible explanations was the oceans under the surface. As a moon moves around a planet, the magnetic field of that planet tugs at it. That is how the moon stays in its orbit. This tug generates an electrical current that transforms into a magnetic field. Such a magnetic field is called induced, and subsurface oceans might be the reason why this induced field can be produced. Saturn is well known for its famous rings, but Neptune, Uranus, and Jupiter also have rings. At the same time, Saturn has something really special we've never seen on any other planet. It's this huge hexagon storm moving around the planet's north pole. Each of its sides is almost 7,500 miles long. That's an area so great, we could place almost 4 Earths inside. According to thermal images, this hexagonal cloud pattern goes down into Saturn's atmosphere for around 60 miles. The planet is hiding behind thick clouds, and sunlight can't get through them. That's why astronomers can't see what exactly is going on there. But there are theories. Saturn is a gas giant. When gas deep inside the planet gets heated, it strays further out. Huge amounts of energy are released along with that gas, which makes it rise, expand, and lose density. The same processes cause hurricanes and tornadoes on our planet. On Saturn, whirling gases come out of a high-pressure zone located within Saturn's outer layers, and these gases trigger a powerful storm of such an unusual shape.